Welcome back to FT Markets. We had quite a few surprises from the European Central Bank this week. We had an asset purchase scheme, we had another cut in interest rates, and Mario Draghi, the president, had a reason to smile as well because the euro slid quite sharply after his press conference. With me to discuss the impact of all these measures is Ferdinando Giugliano, who's the FT's Global Economy news editor. Ferdinando, tell me, were we impressed by the force of all the actions that the ECB announced this week?
Well, I think we were all quite surprised and shocked by the magnitude.
We just expected talk.
We expected a lot of talk from Draghi, especially on asset purchases, ABS purchases, but we certainly did not expect a rate cut. And even on the ABS, he seems to have delivered. The program will start next month, which is pretty soon. So the whole package was, I have to say, pretty surprising and pretty impressive.
Of course, the question is whether it's going to be effective in achieving higher inflation, stronger growth. If we look at the euro chart that we've brought along, we can see right up there the impact that the measures had yesterday.
Well, it was a pretty impressive market movement for a day. It was the euro really slid. You saw peripheral bonds yields coming down throughout the periphery. It looks like markets really didn't expect something of this magnitude.
Okay, now what's the impact, do you think, going to be on the eurozone economy? Is this going to be enough?
Well, I mean, the rate cut, now rates will be down to 0.5%, and it will essentially zero. Well, I think that will be marginal at best. We all know that the problem with the eurozone is really that the transmission mechanism is broken. So actually, even if you have these low rates, businesses and private consumers in the periphery don't really benefit from them. I think what's interesting there is that Mr. Draghi signaled this is the end of the road for interest rate. So it was more a market signal, I think. The really interesting aspect is what's happening to ABS, asset purchases. And that's innovative, it's new, it could be big. Question is, will it be transformative? And
I think it probably could be, actually. I think it's the danger it's been slightly underestimated. Asset-backed securities, slightly techie type thing. Also blamed, of course, for the US subprime crisis in the US, which triggered the whole mess in 2007. But it's a way of getting credit back to the private sector, which avoids putting additional burdens on all the banks. And actually, the way, some of the technical details, the way that Draghi structured it, could mean it's actually quite large. I mean, I suppose the one issue now is, has he in effect announced a quantitative easing program? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think personally, I find it potentially more effective than quantitative easing. Quantitative easing,
targeted, isn't it?
Well, it's much better targeted, and it will go directly to the real economy, as you said. And anyway, I mean, if you think about QE in the traditional way, as the Bank of England or the Fed have done it, that tends to lower government bond yields. Now, doesn't seem to be the problem in the eurozone. But I think the real question is whether these programs will manage to bring inflation up.
Yeah, because we have our chart showing the inflation rate in the eurozone, and it is really quite a worrying decline.
Well, it is, and I think Mr. Draghi said yesterday a lot of this is down to energy prices, food prices, things which the ECB can't do very much about.
To get that up, you have to manage expectations, don't you?
And I think, the real question will be over the next couple of months, will we see this line going up again? And otherwise, I think then it will be QE time.
Yes, but if he has found a way of getting credit to the economy, encouraging job creation, improving the mood, investor mood as well, then he could have quite significant effect. The trouble is, of course, it may take some time.
Yes, and it doesn't look like the eurozone has a lot of time after so many years of stagnant growth, unemployment still very high.
So we may yet, of course, see full-blown quantitative easing, i.e. buying government bonds. Ferdinando, thank you very much. So we are impressed by what the ECB's done this week. Whether it's going to be enough to pull up the eurozone inflation rate, well, that's another matter.